करो अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, अल्लाह ही अल्लाह। Just like a sunrise can't be denied, no. Just like the river will find the sea. Oh Allah, you're here, you're always there, and I know without a doubt that you always hear my prayer. सच की राह पे चला करो, दुख ना किसी को दिया करो, जो दुनिया का मालिक है खामोशी का लिया करो अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, अल्लाह ही अल्लाह किया करो, दुख ना किसी को दिया करो, जो दुनिया का मालिक है खामोशी का लिया करो अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, अल्लाह ही अल्लाह। So many bright stars like diamonds in the sky. Oh, it makes me wonder anyone can be blind to all the signs so clear. Just open your eyes and I know without a doubt you will surely see the light.
तेरी दुनिया तेरी ज़मीन ये कहकर शाहे तू है करीम मेरे मौला सुन ले दुआ हम बेबस है तेरे बिना रोशन कर जमा।
ऐसा जुल्म न किया करो, दुख न किसी को दिया करो, जो दुनिया का मालिक है खामोशी का लिया करो अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, अल्लाह ही अल्लाह किया करो, दुख न किसी को दिया करो, जो दुनिया का मालिक है खामोशी का लिया करो अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, अल्लाह ही अल्लाह। अल्लाह ही अल्लाह किया करो, दुख न किसी को दिया करो, जो दुनिया का मालिक है खामोशी का लिया करो अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, अल्लाह ही अल्लाह किया करो, दुख न किसी को दिया करो, जो दुनिया का मालिक है खामोशी का लिया करो अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, अल्लाह ही अल्लाह किया करो, दुख न किसी को दिया करो, जो दुनिया का मालिक है खामोशी का लिया करो अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, अल्लाह ही अल्लाह।
Assalamu Is that incredibly loud? No. Can you guys hear me back there? Okay, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, sallallahu alaihi Muhammad. Now, what we want to talk about revolves on, there's two parts to this, what we're going to do for the next hour, inshallah. The first part revolves around everything you just saw in this video. Does anyone know what school that happened at? Sandburg. I think we talked about it like crazy the past 2 years. Now, what I want to talk about is how our community in the Chicagoland area changed in the past 2 years. And in ways that you may have realized in the articles that you may have written or videos you may have seen, and maybe in a way that you didn't hear about. Now, mainly what I want to talk about is how back in the 2011-2012 school year at Sandburg, when I was a senior, my last year of high school, A couple of us made it a mission to establish an MSA, and a lot of us actually here were a part of this. Now what we did was that we made it a mission to establish a Muslim identity in our high school. And like, just to give you a little example of what Sandburg was before the MSA, I think like 70% of the Muslims were potheads. And there was like 90% that didn't pray. And really we're just on this extreme Islamic low. So we wanted to make it a mission to bring Islam back at least into the hearts of the Muslims themselves. And the way we did this was two things. And I'm going to talk about two in detail. Number one is the foundation of like these weekly reminders, the weekly meetings that we had. We just had like a reminder, like a short 30-minute halaqah. And the second thing we did were a bunch of events in and outside the school. The first one I want to talk about is the foundation. The foundation was, again, just weekly meetings we had. Every Monday after school, all the kids would come up and they would go to a halaqah for at least 30 minutes every Monday after school. So for 4 months consistently, alhamdulillah, we had these halaqahs where at least 50 kids would show up every single week, between boys and girls, alhamdulillah. And all we did was we talked for we just talked about the afterlife for 30 minutes every single day. But the results that came from this is incredible. Number one, majority of the Muslims didn't pray in Sandburg. After a few months, after just a few weeks of us having these halaqahs, the majority of Muslims did pray in Sandburg. Out of the about like 300-400 kids that we had, Muslims that we had in the school, we hit at least 100. At least 100. Every day I would go like around in the lunchrooms to try to get Muslims to come and pray upstairs in the library during the Dhuhr time. During the Dhuhr. And at first, there's actually a really cool story. At first, no one would come up. So for the first couple of weeks, it was me and like 3 other guys. Stop. Okay. At first, it was just me and like 3 other guys. One day hit where no one showed up upstairs with me. And I got kind of mad. I don't recommend doing this. But I went up to one of the guys that rejected my invitation to come do salah upstairs, and I was kind of angry with him. And I gave him the whole generic, like, if you don't do this, you're in trouble type thing, it's haram not to pray and stuff like that, which I don't recommend doing. But I was angry at the time because I felt like no one was listening to us. Every single day we'd go in a group and try to invite people to come and do salah, and no one would come. So I would go up to one of the guys that I knew. And sitting next to him was a guy that I thought personally, and it was wrong for me to think this way, I thought he was hopeless. Like, this is the type of kid that if in your school you saw him walk down the hall, you would think like, right away, pothead. This guy's a loser. That kid. He was sitting right next to my friend. I didn't know his name. I went up to my friend and I told him, I tapped his shoulder, and he was in the middle of a conversation with somebody, and I told him, listen, you have to do this isn't for me, it's for you, blah, blah, blah. I was just angry. And without even thinking twice, I tapped that kid, that pothead, that whatever, like the hopeless kid, I tapped him on the shoulder, and I just said, you too. Same to you. That's all I said, and I thought nothing of it. The next day, this kid came up to me, and he told me, Shadi, I don't know how to pray. And then he learned. 2 years later, this happened I think a couple of weeks ago actually, subhanAllah. He sent me a Facebook message. I don't have it exactly right now, but he quit smoking. He did used to smoke. He quit smoking. And he told me that like I felt like shaitan was taking over me, and now I'm such a better person ever since you just invited me and stuff. He learned how to pray, he's consistent with that now, he's fasting now. All from a simple invitation. This guy never showed up to a single meeting. After 4 months of having consecutive weekly halaqahs, this guy never even showed up. But just from a little reminder, even outside of the halaqah, outside of the events or anything, this guy's life changed forever. He's praying 5 times a day, alhamdulillah. He quit smoking. He changed his life completely. But especially though within the halaqahs. By the way, after some time, what we did was that like I got really annoyed. So I got like 50 guys to come up with me and go up to like all the auto tables and just like demand that they go upstairs. And at that point, they got shy and they had to go. So we had like 20 or 30 average people every single day after that, alhamdulillah. But let me focus on the halaqahs really fast. During the halaqahs, some examples of some people, 2 or 3 people who didn't know how to read or write Arabic, or know literally any Quran, they made it a mission to go up to some of the leaders and tell them, or ask them, can you teach me how to read? And these people would set up like little private meetings after like every week at a certain time. And these people learn like certain students and learn how to read Arabic, and they're still like studying themselves on their own. 2 separate people from those halaqahs that are products of the MSA in Sandburg are now memorizing Quran within 5 years. Because of what they heard there. They were really influenced by what they heard over there. Remember how you had like the really awkward like censored pictures in the slideshow? Did you guys see those? A couple pictures with like the huge like black boxes over people. Do you guys see those? That was because 3 of the girls, ever since the MSA started, embraced hijab. Because I guess they just, the way I like to put it is that they realized their worth. So they just embraced it. At the end of hearing like what's going to happen after death, and just hearing about how expensive they are in the eyes of Allah, they just couldn't help it. They embraced hijab. I know for a fact one of them said it was directly because of MSA, because of those reminders. Now, one of my most favorite stories, I'm going to tell you like a lot of stuff about this, by the way. I'm going to brag a lot about Sandberg tonight. But this is my all-time favorite story about MSA. Like, I love this one. And it's kind of like a little love story. So you guys are going to like this one. What happened was that there was this one guy. Listen. There was a boy in Sandberg who he was a junior when the MSA started, and his senior year for a second year. The Sandberg MSA is still going, alhamdulillah, like we had 2 years so far. Okay? He was there both years. He's now graduated Sandberg. When it first started, he had like nothing to do with Islam. When he was a kid, he used to pray, he stopped for like 4 years. His dad also influenced him in a way that he's like one of those dads that like think Islam is like a waste of time or whatever. Like servicing the measure to serve religion is a waste of time. So he's influenced by him. So he's just completely like, his mind is heart is off Islam. And on top of this, he had this haram relationship with this girl in school. And this girl is one of the ones that accepted hijab, by the way. But before this, she was still in this relationship with this guy that I know. After a couple of months, I think it was like 2 or 3 months of the MSA going on, she told this guy, I'm really sorry, but I can't keep on doing this anymore. And she basically broke up with him because of the influence. And now this guy was almost a little bit devastated for a little bit, but now like I talk to him a lot now, and he's trying his best. He's now praying 5 times a day. He just paid off his zakat. He's trying his best to like come to the masjid and stuff. He completely changed himself. Because of this girl that like, potentially this could have changed her family, subhanAllah. So this is like my favorite example that like we just changed one person and it spread to so many other people. Now, we also had Jummah Salah after every Friday after school. Now the thing is, you have to understand, the school did not give us any recognition. The school did not give us any like name as a club, didn't give us any funding. All they said was you can meet in this room once a week, basically no benefits. They didn't even give us a name. In fact, I wrote an article in the school newspaper that spelled out Sandberg Muslim Student Association, and the vice principal called me down and said never use this again. Because the school didn't want to recognize us that way. So this school had nothing basically to do with us. And they gave us so many roadblocks. But the team that we had, alhamdulillah, persisted on trying to get this mission through. So what happened towards the end was we became the most active club in the whole school without legitimately being a club. We were the most active one. More active than Alpha Theta, more than iFest. In fact, one of the events that we had was the bake sale, the turkey bake sale. Remember how the earthquake hit Turkey like 3 years ago? Right? What we had was that, you guys have like an international fest in your schools? It's like every school has it, but they call it something different. Where all the ethnicities come together and they all dance and like have booths and food and stuff. Right? We call it iFest in Sandberg. Now iFest is like 300, 400 people strong. And they had this idea. It was an iFest event. That they want to have this turkey bake sale where people would come donate baked goods, or like they would have to make it homemade and bring it, and they would sell it for the money to donate to Turkey. The MSA decided because they wanted to give back to their community, they didn't just want to keep to themselves. They wanted to be a part of the basically of the khair. They just want to be a part of the project. So they requested iFest if they can have like a part. They don't want any part of the name. They just want to help out and bring some food, and iFest said fine. At the end of the whole project, they made $1,200. iFest and MSA all together, after 3 days of selling food, made $1,200 plus to give to Turkey. The funny thing is though, this came from around 220 pounds of food that was donated. We weighed it because they were having competition or something between which like, if boys or girls can have like the most food. So total was 220 pounds of food. 200 of those pounds were from MSA and 20 were from iFest. So we just completely took over the largest student body. We just took over their event basically. Without the MSA, there wouldn't have been an event in the first place. We also went to, we had an organization called MyFC supporting us financially in a way. What they did was that they rented buses so that we can go to mainly 2 events, IMAD and MIST. IMAD is the Illinois Muslim Action Day, where like Muslims all around Illinois would go down to Springfield and lobby for the rights that they believe is right to fight for. And they would just go to representatives and try to like, bring to their attention these certain rights, like human rights and stuff like that. Now what happened was that Sandberg brought a bus, I don't know if you saw the picture, we brought a bus of about 60 kids. We took a day off school and we brought all the Sandberg kids to Springfield to start lobbying for these laws. And 2 of the laws that we chose to focus on ended up being accepted. And the representatives were so impressed to see this such a wide student body of Muslims from a public high school come and work so hard to do this. We had MIST. MIST is like, basically it's called Muslim Interscholastic Tournaments, where the Muslims from all the, mainly private schools by the way. It's like private schools from like all over the Chicagoland area and some parts of Wisconsin and Indiana. They would come to a certain college and they would have basically just tournaments on certain things like essays and like sports and stuff like that, spoken word. And we were a part of this, and I don't want to talk about this extensively, but Sandberg won 3rd place in community service and 1st in short film. So and also the 2nd year of Sandberg, what we did, they had another bake sale where they raised $1,800 to build almost 2 wells in Africa for tribes that didn't have any clean water. So we gave back to our community. And the Muslims were hit really hard with this. It got to a point where one of the people who were when it was the 1st year when I was there, one of the people were so influenced just by like 1 or 2 of the meetings that he decided to tell someone else what he learned. And this guy at the time who was being talked to, he wasn't really that close to Islam. He tells me. And after some time, he was listening to what this kid had to say, and he became so confident with his Islam, with his religion, that by the time he went to Sandberg, he was talking, basically, whoever wanted to talk about Islam, he would talk about it freely. We ended up obtaining 1 convert, a freshman convert in Illinois, in Sandberg, on year 2 of the MSA. So we even got a freshman convert, a 14-year-old kid, to embrace Islam because of the MSA influence.
Takbir! Allah! Takbir! Allah! Takbir! Allah!
This is among a lot of other things I don't want to bore you guys with. But the point is, this MSA was so successful with the barakah of Allah, everything always goes back to Allah, alhamdulillah. This MSA was so successful that it ended up not just basically saving our community in Sandberg, but it even spread to 4 schools. And 2 of them were like lame, they were just all talk. But 4 of them said they wanted to make MSAs after this. Richards, Andrew, Lockport, and Stagg. Stagg and Richards actually went through with it. And then Andrew and Lockport were like, I don't even know what happened, they were just kind of all talk. But Richards and Stagg still stand strong. Richards has like consistently 20 people every single week from Sandberg influence. And Stagg, I think their first meeting they had like 100 people come to a Eid fest. Or Eid dinner for the Muslims. Muslims and non-Muslims, over 100 showed up to their meetings. And this was all going back to the influence of Sandberg. They just read articles about Sandberg and they were just influenced. But the thing is, after some time, this has been going on for 2 years now. After some time, what happened was that the organization that was helping us out at Sandberg died out. And they weren't able to really support anyone financially anymore. So now during year 2, Sandberg and Richards and Stagg, by the end of the 2nd year, sadly, they didn't end off as strong as they started off. In fact, if things go on as they are right now, I believe that Richards and Stagg and maybe even Sandberg within the next 2 years probably won't exist. So this is a problem that we have, is that we started off so strong, but because we lost this like financial support and really moral support and mentorship from this organization, MyFC, ever since they were gone, we really didn't have anyone to fall back on. We stopped going to events. We stopped doing like major events in the school. There were problems within people in all schools. Everything died out. Stagg, by the end of the year, they didn't have any more meetings. Richards is struggling. This is a situation that we had from the past 2 years. It started off really strong, and now it's dying out very, very quickly. And what we want to talk to you about is what we believe is going to be a solution to this problem, inshallah. And Muhammad's going to take it from me.
Bismillah. So, we left off on a pretty strong note with Shadi. He told us how the MSAs were very strong, and then he told us how it died out. And obviously that's very unfortunate. We don't want such programs that are bringing khair and benefit to the community, we don't want them to die down. And so the reason, again, why they died down, as Shadi said, is because we lost kind of the support. We lost the mentorship. We lost that kind of that backbone to the club, and it just kind of started going downhill, and it became difficult. If you lose your support, it just becomes difficult to kind of stand strong. So unfortunately, we're starting to die out. But now, alhamdulillah, we have a solution to this problem. And I really want to emphasize how big this could potentially be with the help of all the community, inshallah. This project is called Project SALAM, which stands for Student Association Leading the Advancement of Muslims. So let's talk about where we come from and what our foundation is. So Project SALAM is one of the signature projects of MAS. By the show of hands, who knows, I've heard, volunteered for, talked to someone, anyone, anything about MAS? Who knows something about MAS? Raise your hand, by the show of hands. The majority of people in this room know about MAS. The reason why that the majority of the people know about MAS is because MAS is the largest Islamic organization in the nation. So, it's a big organization, right? And because it's so big, it can't just function all together and control all of the United States, obviously. So what happens is, MAS then splits off into 44 chapters, one of which is MAS Chicago. And then the other one, there's also another one in Urbana-Champaign. So there's 2, alhamdulillah, in Illinois, and then the 42 are remaining in other states. But from MAS Chicago, then it splits off even more. It splits off to a bunch of departments, and it also then splits off into MAS Youth. And MAS Youth is basically what's running these programs. That's MAS Youth. MAS Youth deals with the youth of the community of Chicago. And so they do a lot of these signature projects. For example, like Project SALAM. They deal with these kind of projects. And so again, then we stem down from Project SALAM. And so if you can imagine this huge lineage of MAS, imagine all the people involved, all the volunteers involved, all the money, all the resources, everything. Just imagine. From all of this, we get so many resources. And that's why working with MAS and MAS Youth is such a benefit to us. Because they support us, and so it gives us the support that we need. So, our team for Project SALAM goes as follows. We have a project director assistant, which is Shadi, and he deals with the south side of Chicago. So Shadi deals with the south side, and he tries to work with the MSAs in the south side. We also have another one for the north side. His name is Zaman Sohail. Both of them then report to me, the project director, and they tell me the updates, what's going on, and what I need to know. I then report to the MAS Youth Director, Muhammad Amoura. And then he goes on to report to MAS Chicago and MAS National. So then, what is it exactly that we're trying to do? And our drive is to aid Islamic student organizations. And this is said in our mission statement. So let me read out our mission statement. The goal of Project SALAM is to provide Muslim student organizations at the secondary and higher education levels throughout the Chicagoland area the resources necessary to construct an Islamic identity and build unity amongst each other in educational facilities with appropriate support from Muslim American Society, MAS Youth Chicago chapter. So what is supporting this? What is holding the project together? What is the main bulk of the project? The main bulk is that we're going to welcome chapters into the project. And what chapters are the actual organizations in the school. So for example, the MSA at Sandburg would be considered a chapter. So what we want to do is we want to invite all these chapters and make them all into this Project SALAM. So we'll have a bunch of chapters underneath us. And then we'll work with the chapter executive. Now the chapter executives are the people in charge of the MSAs. The presidents, the vice presidents, whatever, whoever's on the board, they're considered the chapter executives. And now we want to provide for the executives the resources that they need. And inshallah, with these resources, the MSAs can build upon each other and they can help each other build a future. So we split up the Project SALAM into 2 phases. Phase 1 is outreach. So obviously outreach is what it says. We tried spreading ourselves out and spreading the word to the people. We began phase 1 on July 30th, so not too long ago. Within a matter of 48 hours, we had about 7 schools already on board to help with us, to work with us. Let me put that into perspective. We came up with a budget, we came up with the events, we tried putting up together a yearly program for these chapters. We expected maybe 4 or 5 to come on board with us, total. We expected maybe 4 or 5. We were dealing mainly with the south side of Chicago. That was our main targets. South side of Chicago. Sandburg, Andrew, Lockport, Oak Forest, these schools in the south side. But we began spreading word, and it just spread like a virus. It just kept going and going and going. We had schools contacting us. We had people telling us so-and-so school wants to get involved. And it ended up, so we had 7 schools within the 48 hours, and ended up about maybe an extra day later, and it ended up rising to 12 schools. So now, alhamdulillah, we have 12 schools already confirmed to become a chapter of Project SALAM. That's not including the other 18 or 19 schools that are on the quote-unquote waiting list, I guess you could say, that they haven't necessarily gotten back to us, but that they're considering it. So imagine we have 30 plus schools that want to be chapters, or that are at least considering to be chapters under Project SALAM. So this is huge. We expected 4 or 5. We're at 30 plus. It spread like no other. And the reason why it spread is because so many people love what's going on. So many people want to help be part of a change. They want to be part of the change to help Muslims across the Chicagoland area. The Muslims need us. And so these are the schools that are confirmed so far. You may go to this school, and if you go to one of these schools, it's nice for you to know. So we have Andrew, we have Joliet Junior College, we have Lake Park College, this is in the north side. We have Lincoln Way North, Lockport High School, Moraine Valley Community College, Oak Forest High School, Revis High School, Sandburg High School, Shepherd High School, and Stagg High School. These are the only schools that are officially confirmed. Not even including the schools that are highly considering it, that are most likely there, they just need a little bit extra time to make sure that they can do it. So we already have, alhamdulillah, a nice bulk of schools that the majority of us go to, or have at least gone to or know about. So phase 2 then becomes action. Now keep in mind that phase 1 doesn't really end when phase 2 begins. Phase 1 is always going to be there. Phase 1, where it's the outreach, we're always going to try to outreach. We're always going to try to hit new schools. We're always going to try to expand, right? Phase 2 doesn't stop, doesn't halt phase 1, but it's going to start soon, inshallah. And what phase 2 is action. And what our actions are, and what we want to do, is to help schools, whether they have an MSA or not. And the way we do that is, for example, if a school already has an MSA, we help maintain it. We'll help give them the resources they need. And if they don't have an MSA, then we'll help them start it. And then once they get started, we'll also help them maintain it and support it. So we're going to provide these resources, and we want them to understand that these resources will help them grow. These resources are there for them. They're not there for us. They're there for the school. They're there for the MSAs. And so what we would like to have is weekly circles at the MSAs. And it's not really like necessarily lessons, but really what they are is to get the community together, the Muslim community at these schools, to get them together and to kind of unite them and to bring them the brotherhood and the sisterhood and to kind of help them understand what Islam really is. Because our counselor, Ahmed Mustafa, he always says this, and it's very true. And I like it a lot. Think about it. These kind of programs, these facilities, they're not necessarily meant for the people who are healthy. When you go to a hospital, are they going to turn down a sick person? They don't want to treat them. They're only going to take the healthy people? No, it makes no sense. If you go to a hospital, it's because you're sick and you need the help. Is that correct? They're not going to turn away the sick people. So for these kind of programs, it's to help the people who are not necessarily understanding Islam. And it's not that they're doing anything wrong. Some people just don't know. Some people were never taught. Some people's parents never exposed them to it, or so on and so forth. So the point of these is not necessarily to sit there lecturing kids and to sit there putting Islam onto kids. It's to unite them. Because the brotherhood and the sisterhood could work wonders. It could work wonders. And so we want to provide them, again, with the resources to do these kind of things and to hold events. Now, some of the resources that we can provide for them is money, because money is a big thing. Nothing is free, unfortunately. Nothing is really free. And so money is required for events, for whatever they need to do, they need money. So we're willing to provide them the money that they need. We're also able to provide them the mentorship. Because alhamdulillah, a lot of the people who are working with this and volunteering for Project SALAM and us on the board as well, we alhamdulillah, we have experience. We have experience because we were there at one point. We were there, Shadi and I were there with the Sandberg MSA. I'm part of the UIC MSA now, and it's just, there's a lot of people who are part of the MSAs that are volunteering for this. So we can provide them the mentorship, we can provide them the experiences that they need to know of to help them. We can also provide them with the legal support. Because sometimes it just takes a school a little bit of a legal aspect of things to push them to start an MSA. Because there are ways to get an MSA in your schools, and unfortunately, we don't really know how to do it. We're not lawyers. The most of us, none of us in here are lawyers at least. And the problem is, we don't know necessarily how to approach these schools to get them to start these MSAs. So we can provide them with the legal support to help them start. Now another thing is our events. So we have a bunch of events. This is just, I want to emphasize, this is just a small portion of things that we could just thought off the top of our heads. This is not even things that, this is not the entire list, this is just a few things that we put together. We want to have a welcome dinner, inshallah, for the south side and the north side. So anyone that's involved in the chapters, whether you're a leader or not, whether you're just a member of the school, if you're a Muslim that goes to these schools that are being, the chapters are involved with Project Salam, you are invited to this welcome dinner. And inshallah, we'll try to spread the word for that as well. So you want to unite brothers and sisters across schools that way. Muslim Action Day and Muslim Interscholastic Tournament that Shadi also mentioned, that I'm going to also have Salam Muhammad talk about in further detail. These are also some events that we would like to have to provide the schools with the transportation and so forth, to going back and forth to these events, to setting up for these events, and so forth. We also want to have sporting tournaments. We can have brothers basketball tournaments and sister basketball tournaments, softball, soccer, whatever it is. We want to provide the tournaments to bring the people, again, bring them together and unite them. Masikna is another thing that a lot of people know about. It's a huge convention. It's a very, very large convention that we hold here. Alhamdulillah, it's awesome. It's awesome, the speakers that they bring in, the things that they talk about, it's great. It's a wonderful experience. If you haven't been to it, I suggest you go to it. But what we actually want to do is provide students with the transportation back and forth, provide them the ability to volunteer and give them rooms if they volunteer and so forth. So we want to provide them with all these activities and events and so forth. Another thing that's possible that we would love to do is a camping trip. We can have a brother's camping trip, a sister's camping trip, again, uniting people from different schools. And the list just keep going and going and going. So at this time I want to welcome Sada to the stage and actually have her talk about IMAD and MIST.
Guys, my name is Sada. I went to Sandberg last year. I graduated in 2013. Both years I was pretty supportive of all the events. Actually, I thought that was one of the most important things, just because it actually brings people together, and I've seen it firsthand. For example, this last year, Shadi and Muhammad were not there, but we actually, our girls group, for example, we did all these activities together. The bake sale that we did for the wells in Africa, it actually brought the girls so close together that now we still have group texts. And mind you, I was a senior and most of them were freshmen. So we had group texts, we'd hang out, we had a party for one of the girls who's going away over the summer. So it just brings people together. Now, going to MIST. MIST is a competition that first of all, I went to Universal my freshman and sophomore year of high school. So I introduced MIST to Sandberg. And I had a great experience my sophomore year. I felt like it brought a whole bunch of schools together. I did not only meet kids from private schools, I also met kids from public schools, and I got a whole new perspective on life. I met people who saw people doing bad things in the hallway, and they were like, yeah, well, alhamdulillah, I just pray, I do whatever, and it's like, how can you be so strong? Me coming from a private school. But then going on to a public school, it has taught me you just be yourself, be an individual. And it also taught me brotherhood and sisterhood. The two strongest things that will keep an MSA together. Imagine, you're doing this competition, MIST, for 3 days. You're going back and forth to a college or whatever, and you're doing all these events. You're a team with your school. You're a team, okay? So you are spending 3 days with these people. You become close, trust me. Now, you also get close with the people that you compete with. I remember last year, for example, our team was a team of 6. 4 girls and 1 guy. And we had the MIST Bowl. It's sort of like Jeopardy. And we were only 2 people on that team. So they needed to put us with some other team so we weren't such a small team. You need at least 4 people on a team to compete. They put us with St. Charles High School. Never really heard of them until missed. They were two awesome guys. I learned a lot from them. We worked as a team, and we walked around chanting, "Go Sandberg, go St. Charles." So that's what's great about Miss. You meet new people, you make new friends, you build brotherhood and sisterhood relationships. It's great. Now, as for IMAD, that is very important. As youth, we should be very, very, very strong in our voices. We should be able to go out and say what we need to say. And that gives you the opportunity. You don't have to be politically active. You don't have to know what the president said yesterday and what he's going to say tomorrow. You don't need to do any of that. You just need to believe in what's right. And if you believe in what's right, you go ahead and go to Springfield and you say what's right. And what's great is that MSA gave us the opportunity to do that for the past 2 years. It's a day in Springfield. You take the day off, you take a bus, we go down, we talk to some governors, some senators, make some new friends. We lobby for what we believe in. We come home and we say, hey, that was a great day. And honestly, Project SALAM is going to be a great opportunity because for both those projects, you need funding. And that was our problem last year. That's why we had such a downfall in the events. We didn't have the funding that we needed. The year before that, my FC had paid for our missed, basically everybody's missed fees because there's like a fee to join the competition. So this year, when people were like, oh, I'm going to pay $60 to do this, they weren't really that interested. So it's great. You guys should definitely support Project SALAM, and you guys should make sure you tell your schools about it, because if you get involved in this, you will see your MSA grow and flourish and not slow down.
Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair, Sarah. So basically, I mean, you guys see what she talked about. And you guys, these are the kind of events that we want to have, and we want to provide for the schools and for the students. Because honestly, I mean, just like the brotherhood and sisterhood that sometimes is created is just, it could be the most amazing thing. SubhanAllah, I actually go to UIC. I'm a student at UIC. I'm the Brothers Event Coordinator at UIC through the MSA. And so my job basically revolves around trying to get brothers together. And then there's also a sister who tries to get the sisters together. And we honestly have like these cool events that really gets people going and really gets people connected. For example, this is something so, like, some people might think it's weird, but it was honestly such a fun time. It was a tea party, and we actually held it at his apartment because he lives with the president of the MSA. And so it was actually held at his apartment, and he can actually tell you how awesome it was. It was a lot of fun. Basically what happened was we had a bunch of different types of like tea. Like we had tea from like Yemen, tea from Palestine, tea from Pakistan, tea from a bunch of different places, and we like all, you know, chilled. We all had like a nice chill session. We had food, we had everything, and we were there. You know, it was just very, very, very fun to hang out. And honestly, that brotherhood is it's amazing. And I'm assuming the same thing with the sisters. It's the same exact way. So, you guys done? Okay, so basically, these are the kind of things that you guys really, really need. And these are the things that really will bring MSAs together and people together. And so that's why we really want to promote these and help the schools get these. So I want you guys to realize, you don't want to waste precious time. Time, honestly, is just flowing by. Can you guys believe it's already the 27th night of Ramadan, and Ramadan is almost over? Do we not just realize that, like, I can remember, like, right when I was thinking, you know, Ramadan's gonna be right around the corner, and when I was first, I can even go back to like starting my first year of high school, first year of junior high. I can go back years, just, I can't believe where this time has gone. I cannot believe it. And so we're wasting time if we're not doing anything. And the problem is, if we keep letting ourselves down and we don't push for what's right, we're gonna keep losing it. We're gonna keep losing the truth, and we're gonna keep stepping back. So don't waste our time. Don't waste your own time. Don't try to just step back. Step up. Voice yourself. As Sarah said, be strong with your voice. And so we really want to help change Chicago, because it's not just going to change the Muslims. It'll change the non-Muslims as well. Imagine the MSA start. Imagine the MSA start small even. The students there start small. They graduate, go on to their colleges. And then, trust me, in college especially,
ربنا هب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب.
I'm gonna call Hassan to not use it. All right. So I'm just gonna speak very loudly. So
You're about to start praying.
I know. So basically, we really need to get more involved, and we really want you guys to help spread the word. Start these in your schools. Be involved when they start in your schools, inshallah. And also, we're gonna have sheets. If you possibly know anyone who would like to get involved, or someone who's active with an active Muslim in your school, we have sheets that you can write down their names, their numbers, the email, their grade in school. Please help us. Please spread the word. Please get involved in this project, and inshallah, we can make a change in Chicago.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.